A few years ago, zombies were ingrained in pop culture, and I was a big fan. I even had one of those goofy t-shirts that said how I was really excited about the coming zombie apocalypse. I would joke with my friends about all the weapons I was buying, with silencers for all the guns, of course. The shelter I was building, the provisions I was storing, the whole 9 yards. It was all bullshit. I didn't do any of those things. I wish I had. I think the door to the basement is starting to give.
Do your dreams fill you with hope? Are they pleasant? Dreams aren't made by your brain. You can protest all you want, but they aren't. You know when you wake up with bruises, cuts, blisters, pimples, etc., that weren't there before you went to sleep, and you don't know how you came by them? They caused it. They observe from wherever they can, whether it be from underneath your bed or in your closet. They wait for you to go to sleep. Then they cart you off and experiment. They craft and plant dreams into your mind so that you won't remember what they did. If you're lucky, they quietly return you to your bed when they finish. If not, you disappear without a trace. How do I know? I know because they forgot to give me dreams. Do you know why they do it? They do it because they can. Because it thrills them. They enjoy interfering with others. Sometimes, they enjoy doing more than simply interfering. As for who they are and where they take you, trust me, you're better off not knowing. I hope they never forget to give me dreams again, because I don't know if my heart can handle it a second time. Sweet dreams. They're everywhere. Sometimes they just choose to let you see them. He crawled into the hospital on his hands and knees that day, soaked in his own blood, his wild eyes darting quickly from left to right. He reached out for people, grasping at thin air like a madman. It was a quiet night, and he quickly caught the attention of the doctors. His mutilated body was so distorted people didn't dare look at him. 2 men grabbed his arms and legs and hurled him onto a stretcher. Then he stopped. The man was still. He just stared at the ceiling silently. All of a sudden he jolted up, shaking violently. He grasped a doctor's hand and began muttering gibberish. Co-workers stood in absolute shock. With some ungodly strength, he crushed the doctor's hand. His bones could be heard snapping. Finally, he fell back onto the stretcher, still once more. And as abruptly as it had started, it stopped. With his last breath, he whispered, "They are everywhere. Sometimes they just choose to let you see them." To this day, no one knows what happened to that poor man. But it has never happened since. Welcome to hell, my friend. No, it's not what I expected when I first arrived either, but it's true. Hell is an office job. Doesn't seem too bad for hell, does it? Practically a dream job, compared to lakes of fire and all that. I mean, sure. It's not one of those hip offices with funky feng shui and trendy colors and organic juice bars. It's not even a cubicle farm where you at least get a tiny scrap of privacy while you work. No, it's just an office with an open floor plan. Nothing but desks. Row upon row of gray metal desks beneath sickly fluorescent lighting. These people sitting at the desks are your new co-workers. You may hear an occasional cough or sniffle, but for the most part, we're all very quiet. Why? Because we're thinking. That's why. We are thinking very, very hard about the blank piece of paper on our desks. You've got one too. It's a standard 3x5 index card with 1 red line at the top and 10 blue lines underneath. No fancy computers to work on here. Just a plain, simple index card. But it's a very important index card. You get a new one every day, and if you write something on it, then you might get the evening off. What's so great about an evening off? Well, a day in hell may be like working in an office, but the nights are another thing entirely. At night, we could end up with fire ants poured into our ears, or dancing barefoot on broken glass. We've had our eyes lanced, our tongues shredded, and our intestines unwound. And those were the easy nights. Normally, it's much worse. That's why these index cards are so important. Did you think devils and demons would be creative with their punishments? Try telling a bunch of humans that one of them will get the night off if they come up with the most inventive torture of the day. Demons can't even compete with our creativity. But hey, It's almost quitting time. We've got to drop our cards in the suggestion box before the 5 o'clock deadline. I'd wish you good luck, but that would mean really bad luck for me, wouldn't it? Oh, wait. I see that look in your eyes. You're thinking about getting everyone to band together and write down easy tortures like runny noses and stubbed toes, right? Well, forget about it. No matter what you do, there will always be that one guy, you know? Usually more than one, but there will always be at least one stupid, selfish, or just plain evil asshole who ruins things for everyone else. If you don't believe me, then you don't know your fellow humans very well. Or you've never worked in an office. But I wouldn't worry about it. After tonight, I'm sure you'll fit right in.
I told him, friends don't let friends go to jail. I told him how I butchered my parents. I wanted approval from my best friend. He lied to me. Lied when he said it was our secret. He must have been disappointed when he heard that there was no evidence to suggest I committed these crimes, besides his word. They found prints all right. Prints on the knives used to chop my parents up, on the sliding door of the bathtub, and on the doorknob, both coming in and going out of the house. All his prints. All from the day before when I asked him to do some innocuous tasks. But I stand by my rule. Friends don't let friends go to jail. Too bad he's not my friend anymore.
Jamie awoke with a start. The sudden clap of thunder had shaken him from his deep sleep. He looked out his window at the violent storm blowing madly outside. He was just about to turn over and go back to sleep when his bedroom door creaked open. A small girl in a purple Hello Kitty nightie. She clutched a stuffed puppy toy tightly. "Daddy," she whimpered. The nasty thunder woke me up. She seemed very upset, close to tears even. It's okay, princess," Jamie responded sleepily. "It woke me too. Don't worry though. It won't hurt you." "But Daddy, I'm scared. Floppy is too." The small child gestured to her toy puppy. "Can we stay here with you? Just for tonight. We won't be no trouble. Honest." "All right. Come here, you little mouse." Jamie sighed. The girl climbed into the bed, and the two began to hug. Jamie ignored the fact his daughter had died 7 years ago.
Every soul has its own hourglass, and I am the keeper of these hourglasses. I am everyone's death, and no one can avoid me. Once your sand has accumulated down at the bottom, I claim you. But do not worry. I am not the one who tortures or kills. I simply harvest your crops. It is not I who determines when and how you die. I just wait. I exist for only one duty, and that is to take you from your slumber. You only think that death is painful, but it is not, and never will be. It is only a stage of awakening. Every existence, you created it. The true world is here, beyond death. Death for you is your soul leaving the overworld. But in actuality, you were never in that world. Everything you know, everything everyone ever did, are mere hallucinations. I exist because it is my job to wake you, to take you, and lead you here, the real world. This is what you call and believe to be heaven. Do not let my appearance deceive you. I am not simply a skeleton. I am living. Here, there is no evil, no suffering, no death. Once you reach the stage of awakening, you will be amazed. Everything will come to you, your past life before you slept for a long time. And being born in your world is a person here in the real world beginning to slip into the slumber. Each of you are linked to each other. You created that world, and every evil thing someone has done was your subconscious mind's doing. It was telling someone to wake from their sleep. The ones who kill, they were just bringing someone to the true world. The awakened and myself are waiting for you. Waiting for your sand to be wasted. We are all waiting, hoping for the sand to reach the bottom.
I saw a woman the other day, and I'll never forget her. She wasn't particularly pretty or anything like that. I was putting groceries in the trunk of my car when I looked up and saw her, sitting in the back seat of a car some feet away. There was a man outside the car talking on his phone, but I was too far to hear him. She mouthed something, but I couldn't tell what she had said. Not then, at least. It wasn't until I got home, put away my purchases and turned on the television, that my heart sank. There, on the local news, was the story of a kidnapped woman. She was the woman in the car that I had seen. Thinking back to her, I realized what it was she had tried to say. Help me.
It all started after we got back from a family trip around Eastern Europe. We have family in some of the countries, but my mother and father really love the history and architecture of the region. Everything went normally during the trip. We ate good food, saw cool sights, and spent time with distant relatives. I acted like I wanted to go home the whole time, but truth be told, I had fun. My younger sister turned 14 on the trip. We had a big party for her. She was really into makeup and stuff, so my parents got her a bunch of foreign brands that are popular, I guess. As far as I know, it only started once we got back home. My sister started complaining about an itch. She said there was a weird tickling sensation constantly on her back. She'd always ask anyone, and I mean anyone, even strangers, around to scratch it for her, but was never satisfied. It was as though we just couldn't get the right spot. It seemed very frustrating for her. My mother thought it may be a rash, or an adverse reaction to some of the products she got for her birthday. She saw the doctor, who said there was no sign of any problem with the skin, aside from irritation where she'd obviously been trying to scratch it herself with various objects. She went to see specialists, first a dermatologist, then an immunologist, even naturopaths. My sister and the rest of us at that point were getting desperate. About 2 months after we'd returned, it went from an itch to an obsession. She was always scratching all over her body. She said she could feel the tickle underneath the skin, as if thousands of tiny bugs were crawling around her insides, as she would put it. The closest thing we got to an answer was from a neurologist. He said that there could be problems with her nerves backfiring like crazy. He told us that there were certain medications she could be put on, but they'd have serious and adverse effects. My parents were understandably hesitant, but she was in agony. We all agreed as a family. We had no other option. I watched her, getting worse with every day. The medication barely helped, and it left her in a severe mental fog. She had a hard time communicating and paying attention. The only thing she could do properly was scratch her skin. As her brother, watching her go through this was heartbreaking. I was helpless. I was supposed to look out for her, to defend her, and take care of her. I was at my wit's end, trying to figure out what the hell I could do. But if even the doctors have no idea, how the hell could I know? She stopped taking the medication. She said it was giving her uncomfortable side effects. She could hear the itching. She said it was better to deal with the irritating sensation rather than the disquieting hallucinations. We all understood. We wanted it to be as much her choice as possible with how to handle things. It was winter at this point. She'd been going for counseling and therapy. My father believed that this was some kind of psychological thing, that a psychologist would be able to help her deconstruct the root of the issue. It's a good thing, too, because if the psychologist hadn't noticed, I don't know if any of us would have. She'd been wearing heavy clothing all the time. We assumed it was due to the cold. As it turned out, her body was covered in lacerations. She'd been slowly trying to skin herself. She explained to my parents when the psychologist told them, "You don't understand. Whatever it is, it's inside of me. I have to let it out." My parents were mortified. I was too. But I couldn't help but wonder how she was able to hide it from us so well. I shared a bathroom with her, and I never found traces of blood that couldn't be easily explained away. In the hospital, she was manic, screaming and flailing, refusing to hold still, to let the nurse bandage her. "That's just going to keep it in!" She howled, desperately trying to rip through her clothing, to tear at her flesh. It was more than my parents could handle. She was sent to an institution where they could keep an eye on her around the clock. She'd have no access to tools with which to harm herself, and she was forced to wear clothing that inhibited her from scratching. That was a week ago. Today, we heard from the hospital. She's dead. The doctors said they weren't sure exactly how it happened, but at some point when she and some other patients were taken for a walk, she managed to impale herself on a fence post, through the throat. My mother hasn't spoken a word since we heard the news. My father is furious. He demands to know how this could happen when it's supposed to be a secure facility. Me? I'm torn. As I sit here recording this, I'm devastated from the loss of my dear sister. But I'm distracted. I'm terrified, and I have no idea what to do now. I haven't told anyone, especially not my family. But something has happened. A few days ago, I felt an itch. An itch I just can't scratch. I see him every day. Watching. Waiting. Lurking. I watch the watcher. Observing his movements that perfectly reflect mine. I see his brown eyes, shock of blonde hair, and that face with the haunted look that is the byproduct of my deteriorating mental state. He looks, moves, and lives like me, a near-perfect replica of myself. But I know the truth, because inside that perfectly reflected head, his thoughts are not mine, but those of a killer. Cunning, calculated, and poised to strike when the opportunity best presents itself. He stalks me, inexplicably keeping up with me as I move from room to room, mirror to mirror. I know what he plans to do, but I keep playing his twisted little game like I am none the wiser. He's getting sloppy, though. Every now and then I can see his hesitation, if but for a millisecond. He knows by now that I've realized what's going on. He wants to kill me, but I keep just barely escaping his grasp. I'm looking at him right now. He wants me to turn my back to him, to give him the chance he's waited for so long to get. I won't allow it. I'll fight his game until he finally has to take action. I won't be stabbed in the back by a coward. You probably think I'm crazy, that these are just the ravings of a lunatic. But I'm right. Look into the eyes of your doppelganger. Do the one thing they can't avoid. Reach out to the cold glass. Expose their secret. Know the truth. I know the truth. Sometimes, when I stare at him long enough, he blinks first.
There's a small building somewhere in northwestern America, up along the border between Oregon and Washington. It's just a short little old shack in the woods off the highway. Anyways, inside, there's a spiral staircase made of grating that goes straight down. If you go all the way down, you'll find yourself stepping out into an endless field of tall grass. There are many bones surrounding the bottom step of the stairs, and things move in the near distance. Nobody who has ever seen these things has come back to say what they are. Played poker tonight with Scott and Elias from security. And Steve from research. Steve was the big winner, but I think he was cheating. Scumbag. higher-ups assigned me to take care of a new creature. It looks like a skinned gorilla. Feeding instructions were to give it live animals. When I threw in a pig, the creature seemed to play with it, tearing off the pig's legs and pulling out the guts before it actually started eating. At around 5 a.m., Scott woke me up. Scared the shit out of me, too. He was wearing a protective suit. He handed me another one and told me to put it on. Said there'd been an accident in the basement lab. I just knew something like this would happen. Those bastards in research never sleep, even on holiday. I've been wearing the damn spacesuit since yesterday. My skin's getting grimy and feels itchy all over. The goddamn dogs have been looking at me funny. So I decided not to feed them. Yeah. Screw them. Went to the infirmary because my back is all swollen and feels itchy. They put a big bandage on it and told me I didn't need to wear the suit anymore. All I want to do is sleep. Found another big blister on my foot this morning. I ended up dragging my foot all the way to the dog's pen. They were quiet all day, which is weird. Then I realized some of them had escaped. Maybe this is their way of getting back at me for not feeding them for the last 3 days. anyone finds out, I'll have my head handed to me. Rumors going around that a researcher who tried to escape the estate last night was shot. My entire body feels hot and itchy, and I'm sweating all the time now. I scratched the swelling on my arm, and a piece of rotten flesh dropped off. What the hell is happening to me? Fever gone, but itchy.